Alright, so in this video clip, I'm going to show you how to run a simple logistic regression with the data set we have. So let's switch back to the Citrix viewer, and this is the model we have. And we're going to bring in a regression node from the model tab. So from model, regression, PQR, third from the right, drag it, place it next to impute, meaning that we're going to use the imputed data set in which we no longer have missing values in our inputs. So which is a necessary condition to run a logistic regression. Otherwise, you will lose observations with the inputs with any missing values are lost entirely. So we are going to run this, see if we need to make any changes. Looks like we don't need to. So let's run this. This regression is quite similar to the maximum tree we have. So this is the baseline, which we didn't adjust. We didn't optimize the complexity level at all. This is a baseline. Basically, we are throwing in all inputs we have in our data into the model. Presumably, we will produce a model which overfits the data. But that's the baseline. So from this, we're gonna optimize the complexity level by excluding irrelevant inputs. So you will see the process shortly, but intuitively speaking, this regression is similar to a maximum tree. Okay, so select results. From here, I'm going to maximize the output window. Scroll down a little bit. So right in the middle of the screen, this summarizes the inputs which have been included in this logistic regression. And as you can see, all the inputs, except the one we originally rejected, they all enter the logistic regression equation. And it sort of shows, if I scroll down a little bit, from line 125, are you familiar with the p-values in statistical significance? So whenever the p-value of a particular input is less than 0.05, 5%, if so, it indicates that that variable is a significant one. So, for example, the cluster information is p-value is exceeding 0.05, meaning that this particular information is not relevant with respect to predicting or explaining our target outcome. So based on that ground, you can exclude this input from the input list if necessary. But for now, we included all the inputs without imposing any input selection method. But if I look at these p-values, the percentage veterans in a given district or a region, its p-value is less than 5%, less than 0.05. So this one is statistically significant factor explaining whether a person donates or not. Similarly, gift time last, how long it has been. In a sense, a person's last donation carries important information whether or not that person makes donation today. So this is how we interpret these results. But be mindful, this is similar to a maximal tree. We didn't do any input selection. So I'm gonna restore this output window. And if you look at this fit stats table, you can look at the average score error on the second row or the misclassification rates on the last row. In terms of misclassification rates, when you use training data set, you achieve 0.41, about 41% misclassification rates. But when you used validation set, you achieved 43%, so 2% higher or worse. So one quick test, something you can draw by comparing these two numbers. The larger the difference between two values is, it is more likely the current model overfits the training set, meaning that your training set produces too good. The result based in training set is too good compared to the result when you assess the model on validation set. So it sort of tailors to the idiosyncratic and unique patterns within a training set. So this clearly indicates and also resonates with the fact that the current model, we force it to use all inputs we have in the data. So again, similar to maximal tree, this very likely to overfit the data. So as we did in our decision tree, by pruning the maximum tree, we're going to impose a input selection method by which the logistic regression actually produces a model with a much simpler model in which there are fewer inputs being used. So that is exactly the next step. So I guess that's all about it. So let me exit this and then stop recording it.